what most folks told us was the number 2 thing getting in the way of our connection, because it's a little abstract unless I share with you this story. And it's a personal story, so if I may, I'd love to introduce you to the Jenkins household. This is my crew. It's my wife, Ashley, on the right. It's our daughter, Ella. Too much ice cream in this particular image. And on that day, our son landed in the middle, and on the far left there is our son, Meyer. They're a little bit older than this now. But at the time of this photo, our youngest, on the left, Meyer, was about to turn 1. And as we do nowadays, when a child turns 1, I don't know why we do this, but we throw this massive party for this 1-year-old. I don't know why we do this. The child's not going to remember this, but that's what we do. We did it for the other 2, so of course we're like, all right, Meyer, it's your turn, big party. And so we were about to have a bunch of family and friends over to our home in Atlanta, Georgia, and my wife and I were busy putting together some dishes in the kitchen, and we invited over our college-age friend, Cassidy. So Cassidy came over, and the first task we gave to Cassidy, we handed her a can of olives, and we said, hey, can you open this up and put that on that dish? She said, sure thing, no problem. So then my wife, Ash, and I turned our attention. We began working on some of the other dishes. A few moments went by, and I could notice out of the corner of my eye, nothing was happening with that can of olives. I thought, all right, so I turned my full attention to Cassidy and immediately noticed she was on her phone. Like she'd just gotten there, and she's already on her phone. I thought, oh my gosh, did I forget to tell her that there's people coming over like any minute? So I approached her to relay that message, and as I approached her, it turns out she wasn't distracted. In fact, she was being wildly resourceful because she was on her phone watching a video on how to use a manual can opener. This is 100% true. And so the moral of the message here is the Jenkins household, we need to upgrade our appliances. That's kind of the moral of the story here. Clearly, there's devices in our kitchen that a whole generation has no idea how to use. No, here's the real moral of the story. You and I, today, more than ever before, you and I are less dependent on each other than ever before. In that kitchen, Cassie didn't have to turn to another human and ask, how do I do this? She could turn to a device, get the answer, and move on. This is happening all the time in our personal and professional lives, everywhere. Right? At work, we're way less likely to swivel our chair and talk to someone. We're more likely to use AI or visit YouTube. If something breaks at your home, you're way less likely to knock on a neighbor's door. We might turn to some other resource or digital asset. And so whether we know it or not, while these are extraordinary conveniences, what's getting sacrificed is connection. And we're slowly pulling away from each other. So the number 2 thing, when we boil it down and sift it through all the research that's getting in the way of our connection, is a dependency shift. We're less dependent on each other than ever before. And one of the things that knits you and I together culturally as a species is dependency, our dependency on one another. So the question that we're faced with is, how can you spark more dependability among your team? Because of this dependency shift, we're less reliant on each other and we're less connected. So how can we spark a greater sense of dependability? Well, I'm going to share the research with you. We actually interviewed a professor out of UCLA in California. He studies loneliness at the molecular level. And he said there's 4 magic words that we can use to spark more dependability. 4 magic words. So I'm going to share that with you in just a minute. But first, I want to share with you how to access the trapdoor of disconnection so that you can spark more dependability. So let me ask you a question. If you found yourself here in this building, what would you do? You would exit. Bless you, by the way. Yes, you would flee. If you have a healthy brain, your brain goes, oh, this is not good. Let's go. You would flee, right? You're running out of that building. You're trying to preserve oneself, right? That's what we do, fight or flight if we're in a threatening situation. Now, the only way, so what happens when you're in that burning building is the threat circuitry turns on in your brain, and then that forces you to leave. Now, the only way to override the threat circuitry in your brain is through dependency. So you will override the threat circuitry in your brain if there's something in that burning building that is dependent on you. For example, a family member, a beloved pet, etc. You will override that threat circuitry and run back into that house. Same is true when you and I are experiencing disconnection. If there's team members on your team that are experiencing disconnection, We covered this at the beginning. The threat circuitry is on in their brain. And the only way to override that is through dependency. So we can override disconnection through meaningful dependability. And here's the 4 words Dr. Stephen Cole says works like magic. And those 4 words are, I need your help. I need your help. If we have someone that's isolated, threat circuitry, they tend to turn inward, start distrusting everyone around them. And so the way to engage them back into the conversation is, hey, I need your help. You're the only one that can do X, Y, and Z. You're part of this team. We're going after a big objective here. Get on the team. We need your help. We're dependent on you.